Thank you for tuning in to Seed in the Closet. Today's episode, we will be privileged to hear Lisa White of White Howard Brand share her story and give God the glory. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Seed in the Closet. Tasha Moody. I'm sitting here with Lisa White, who is going to share today her testimony as it relates to starting her own business, becoming an entrepreneur, which I'm really excited about because her testimony is so grand and it just really speaks volumes to how when you're listening to God and you're moving with God, how things just open up that you can never even begin to imagine. So we're going to let her share with us this amazing story.
Well, Tasha, first and foremost, thank you for even inviting me out and allowing me to be able to share my testimony about this. I really appreciate it. I guess I should say, I'm Lisa White, and I'm the owner and founder of White Howard Brands Commercial Interiors. And most people don't know what that means, right? If you'll just think about the car industry, when you go to purchase a car, you typically go to a car dealership. So here in Atlanta, there's several, right? You've got Jim Ellis, you've got Nally, you've got Hennessy. They don't manufacture the cars, but they are the dealer distributor of the cars. And there's different brands of cars, right? You've got your Hondas, you've got your Toyotas, you've got Lexus, BMWs, Mercedes, the list goes on and on. Within contract furniture is the exact same model. When a large company or a small company needs furniture, restaurants need furniture, hospital systems need furniture, they go to a dealer distributor to get the furniture. And today I'm excited and passionate to say, and I'll speak more about that as well, I'm the only Kimball International Select dealership owner that looks like me and is female in the country, in the entire United States. So one of my passions is to really share with other folks how this has come about and how you can become a business owner or get into the niche of contract furniture as well.
So I just know I know some about your testimony, how you got here. So before, you were not an entrepreneur. You were not interested in becoming an entrepreneur. You worked in you didn't work in the furniture industry.
Yes.
So tell us how you went from being an employee to an employer and how the spiritual components to that.
Absolutely. So I want to say it was roughly, it was almost 10 years ago now. I attended my sister's church, so I wasn't at Berean that Sunday. It was Family and Friends Day at my sister's church. And went to her church, and one of those smaller churches, right? I describe it as soon as you walk in, you're almost sitting in the pulpit. And so when I walked in, I was like, whoa, and kind of pulled back a little bit. I was like, well, I don't want to sit in the pulpit. So let me see how I can be in row 3 or pew 3. So I pulled back a little bit and I sat down, and it was an amazing service. So, I'm laughing, but it was a smaller church, right? And I'm used to going to a larger church, but it was a smaller church. Wonderful pastor. The service was amazing. And coming towards the end of service, they had asked for people to, if they were willing, to participate in paying into their building fund. And I'm a big believer in spreading seeds, and you can spread seeds in a lot of different ways. So I tend to spread seeds either with my time or with my finances. And this was an opportunity for me to spread a seed with my finance. So I gave into their building fund. And it was interesting. They had asked, how are you going to make your payment? And I was like, okay. And it was back when, although I say it was almost 10 years ago, I've stopped writing checks, and most people have over the last 15 years, right? I don't walk around with my checkbook anymore. Right. They were like, how are you going to make this payment? And it was before the different apps were around for you to be able to make those kind of payments. So I pulled out my debit card, and I was like, well, I have my debit card. And that woman pulled out her little square, and she was like, are we ready for your debit card? Like, okie dokie. I gave her the amount, and she swiped it, and we were, all clear, right? So we get towards the end of service, and the pastor says, I would like for Sister Lalonde's sister to stand up. My sister's last name is Lalonde. He was talking to me. And so I stood up and I was like, oh my God, why is he asking me to stand up? I bet the lady probably told him how much I gave in a building fund. I didn't want to make a big deal about this. It was just me giving up my heart, and I was led to give the amount that I gave, and I really don't want him to make an announcement about it. And he goes, God asked me for you to stand up today and just let you know that you're going to own your own business one day. And Tasha, I promise you, that particular Sunday was not a great Sunday for me. Meaning that I left my house in slight disarray. It was family and friends day, right, you guys? And I really wanted my whole family to be there. My husband wasn't able to come. My children was acting all silly and they, moving around slow and was going to make me late. So when I left the house, I was not happy. And I got to church, and of course that changed things around. But even in my head, I was standing there going, I'm not going to own I don't even know what this man is saying. What? Like, no, not a business owner. As God would have it, fast forward roughly about, honestly, at least 18 months, if not 2 years later, I am on this amazing trip in Italy. So I need to probably give a little context to that. The company that I was working for at that time was a commercial furniture manufacturer by the name of Kimball. And if you made quota as a salesperson with the company, they would award you incentive trips. And the incentive trip that year was to Italy. And I was the seventh person or the seventh sales rep to get the award. And all of you all that are listening that are within the faith-based arena know what the number 7 is, right? So that was amazing to me within itself. I get over to Italy, and me and my husband at that time were just having an amazing time. It was a wonderful trip. I meet a woman that looks like me and you, Tasha, meaning that she's a Black woman, and she owns a dealership in Columbus, Ohio. Now, I would have never met her because I don't have family in Columbus. I have no reason to go to Columbus. I would have never met Carolyn. I meet Carolyn on this trip, and she was one of the qualifiers as a dealer person to win the trip also, right? For the amount of furniture that she had sold in regards to Kimball was concerned. And her and I started talking because I'm like, I've never met anybody that looks like you that owns their own dealership. This is amazing. Like, how did you do this? And the other thing I need to probably explain to the audience too is I had been working for Kimball at that point, probably 17, 18 years. So I have been in this industry all of my career now. I'm 39 years within the contract commercial furniture industry, and I had not met anybody that looked like Carolyn that owned a dealership. Mm-hmm. We worked at them as sales reps. We definitely worked in the warehouse. But the owner, your name is on the front door? I hadn't seen that. It's a very heavily dominated, white male dominated industry, right? So far as ownership is concerned. So long story short, I started talking with Carolyn and asking her how she did that. And Carolyn was an interior designer by trade. That's what she went to school for. And she said as she was helping her clients with their space planning and changing out the interiors of the space, meaning the paint on the walls or the flooring or adding artwork, they would ask her about furniture. And she would always refer them to somebody else. And she started thinking, I am literally passing on revenue to another company. Why don't I sell them the furniture? And she said it became a no-brainer. She said by the time she was in business for herself, I want to say maybe the second, if not the third year, she started selling furniture. And I was like, that is so cool. So I was like, I'm asking her more questions and everything. And she was like, well, let's just stay in touch when we get back to the States. I'm happy to help you out. I get state contracts, blah, 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 blah. Of course, I take it one step further. I literally go to the president of Kimball during the course of the trip because he's there. And I go, what would it look like if I actually opened up a dealership for you guys in Atlanta? And he goes, Lisa, that would be an amazing idea. He said, let's talk more about it when we get back home to the States. We get back home. They asked me to put a business plan together. I put the business plan together. I give it to them. And they go, okay, so when do you want to open up? I get imposter syndrome. I'm like, these folks about to let me open up a business. I've never owned a business. I mean, all I've ever worked is for somebody else. And I was raised in a household of conscientious workers, right? My father certainly was a worked in a factory. He was a paper cutter in a factory. So we always had plenty of paper around the house. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom. She was a housemaker. That's what they called women back then in the 50s and the 60s. They were housemakers. My mom was a housemaker. But what I will say about my mother is that she always had what I call a side hustle. So my mom would sell Sever Coventry. She sold Herbalife. She sold, stuff like Mary Kay. She wasn't a Mary Kay person, but she sold stuff like that, right? So she always knew how to literally turn a dime into 25 cents and turn 25 cents into $100.
Wow.
I love my mom. That just enamored me about my mother. They were like, yep, your business plan is fine. Do you have funding? And I was like, no, I don't have any money. I was like, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, yeah, if it requires me to come up with some money for us to do this is not going to happen. Well, you guys, honestly, so they took my business plan. They funded me the money to open up the company at a interest-free loan, upwards of 5 years to pay it back. And what the amazing thing about it is, they literally gave me 1,000% of what I tithed into that church, which just blows my mind every single time I think about it. So when somebody tells me, or challenges me in regards to paying tithes or giving an offering or giving a seed faith offering, and where does it go? You cannot beat God's given no matter how you try. I was just so in awe of that. I can't even explain to you how in awe I am of that.
And that's amazing because it's something that just sits with you and you always kind of can remember and go back to that. And the amazing part is just how God builds our faith off of that, right? Like
every single time.
And then when you're in the moment, because I know a lot of times for me, when God does something or says something, I don't necessarily, it's like, okay, yeah, and like you give the seed offering, you don't really think much about it. But when it shows back up, you were like, oh my goodness, and you can't, and it's like God reminds you, remember that you
That's
did?
Right.
And,
That's right.
And it's like, then you can see all the pieces coming together.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And when you were saying about how he prophesied it into you, what the scripture that came to mind was, no eye has seen nor ear heard the things that God has planned for you.
Yes.
So, just to hear, I always love this story, but go ahead.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. So then the financial part resonated in me, right? Amazingly. And then God laid it on my heart. You've got to go back to your sister's church and tell them your testimony. They need to hear this. And I was like, okay, so I'm being obedient. God, whatever you tell me to do, I'm about to do it. I'm about to show up for you.
Right.
And I go back to the church and I share with them my testimony and the appreciation, the love, the admiration, the humility that came from that is beyond words as well. What I didn't know at that time was that the church was going through a lot themselves. They needed to hear that pastor was on point.
Right.
And there was some kind of strife happening seriously in the church. He was thinking about leaving. The congregation wanted him to leave. A lot was going on.
God is so amazing.
Every single time. So they were just like, wow, like this is, I was like, oh my, is it happening? It's not only happening, it's successful, it's amazing.
Right.
My clients, the support that I get from my industry partners, from my suppliers, all of it. I mean, so seamless that so I tell people jokingly that I left a good W-2 job, and I did. I mean, Kimball was a great company to work for, and I got paid 4 times a month for just doing what I love to do, which is talk and meet people that I don't know.
Right.
So far as new clients are concerned, and then explain to them how we can be a resource to them. And it was great to get paid to do that. And I still do, but it's for myself.
Right.
And God was just showing me how this is not about me, because you get into that whole ego thing too. When these types of things happen, it can happen to you when you start thinking, this is me and I'm special and I got it going on and everything. And I had that for a blip, and God was like, yeah, but this ain't about you, right?
Right. Like, you ain't know nothing about this.
Not only did you not know anything about it, you weren't aspiring to do it. And the reason why I've even entrusted you with this is because I need for you to go out and tell other young Black girls that they can do this too, Lisa. You didn't go to school for this. You didn't go to school for business management. You didn't go to school to be an owner operator. You didn't go to school to be an employer. However, the world has changed so much in how we conduct business and how you can meet people, and it can be so much out of just your landscape, your community, your neighborhood, that right now I am meeting people overseas. I'm meeting people in other states. We are doing business nationwide, and it's so attainable if you just wrap your mind around it first and foremost. And if God has laid it on your heart and has planted that seed within you to be an entrepreneur, I want to show you that it is more than possible.
Yeah.
Because honestly, it really wasn't anything that was on my radar. When I heard that Sunday, I didn't even receive it. It took for God to remind me, I had already told you this was happening.
Right.
When I started talking with the Kimball folks. Because I was like, oh, yeah. Right.
And what I find so amazing when you were saying that, I'm thinking about Abraham. How when God made the promise with him, he was asleep. Like, it's like, God is like saying, it's not you. Right? I really don't even need you, but I'm just going to use you.
That's right. You're just a vessel that I'm using.
Right, exactly. And I think that's so important for us when we're sharing our testimony. It's like, that's why we say God is not a respecter of persons. That is not really even about us. Like, he uses us and he operates through us, but it's about him, and it's him getting the glory, and it's him knowing, people knowing about him and finding out that, oh, this is what God does. This is how God does this. Exactly. So, so to hear you saying that and sharing that about how, it's really just all about God.
It really is in my everyday walk. So is every day a great day? No. Well, let me take that back. Every day is a great day because he has woken me up, and it's an opportunity for me to just make a different impact. Are there some days that are better than others? Yes. In making that impact as a business owner. Right. Because at the end of the day, it is no joke, right? I mean, your overhead of employees and office space and marketing and everything else that comes along with that. And my team is growing, and the more it grows, the more it stretches me and gets me out of my comfort zone.
It stretches your faith, it stretches your trust.
Every single day, every single moment of every single day, you're talking about praying and praying hard and praying long and praying before every meeting.
Right. Yes.
And every time I even walk out the door, which is what we should be doing anyway.
Yeah, but it makes you put that into practice, because it makes
absolutely,
you put it into practice.
Absolutely. So the practice of that is huge. But I say all of that to say, is it attainable and is it possible? It really is. And that's the part that excites me. So one of my passions is volunteering at middle schools during career days and or even taking on a couple of mentees, throughout the school year. We have done that before. I've volunteered with an organization by the name of Year Up. And so they are instrumental in helping children that maybe were a bit challenged in going through the full curriculum of high school. So they didn't graduate, they dropped out for whatever the reasons are, right? Because life happens, life shows up. Right. But they help them to get their GED and then even move forward into, if they want to go to college, great. But if they don't want to, getting them onboarded with some really great companies, like with a Delta, like with a Southern company, like with you name it, a Microsoft, because there's a number of different corporate organizations that are in partnership with Year Up and help these folks to get really great jobs once they get them trained and educated in doing that. So I've sat in on panel interviews with them, meaning looking at their resumes and helping folks like that. But one of the things I tend to say is, in talking with young people, I find it talking with folks that are in middle school. They're that 12 and 13-year-old that haven't quite reached ninth grade yet, that still, have different ideas of, I could be an astronaut.
Right,
I could be the president of the United States. When we're in elementary school, I can be whatever I want to be.
Right.
Then sometimes by the time you get to high school, you're like, no.
I don't want to do
I don't want to do any of that. It's great to capture that when they still have those dreams, because sometimes we stop dreaming.
Yeah.
And if nothing else, if they don't hear anything else from me today, if you don't hear anything else from me today, do know that don't be a dream stopper. Don't be a dream squasher. I am a 57-year-old woman, and I still dream, and dreams are still possible. And as long as God is on your side, and I know that he is, my Father is alive and well, and I thank him and glorify him every moment of every day, that dream is still possible.
Yeah.
So I like to express that to these younger folks and just let them know, yes, that dream is still attainable. And it can come in so many different ways.
Right.
And almost when you least expect it is when it shows up. Because that Sunday, like I said, it just wasn't a great Sunday for me.
Right.
And that's when it was first unveiled to me. And now God was like, I done already told you about this. And then the money portion came along. And then true success really started showing up. And I was like, Father, thank you. Because every day is a faith walk. Yeah. I don't know when the next opportunity is coming. And these opportunities, all I can just share is our client roster just amazes me sometimes. I mean, to be able to say that Kaiser Permanente is a client for us. Southern Company is a client for us. Hartsfield-Jackson Airport is a client for us. Microsoft is a client for us.
Yeah.
We've done work with Wellstar. We've done work with some really high-profile named companies. And I'm just little old Lisa from, Queens, New York, that who knew?
Right.
Who absolutely knew, but God knew it.
Yeah.
God knew it. And I do thank him not only for the blessing, but for entrusting me with the blessing. And I pray every day. I was like, Lord, don't let me squander this away. Don't let me be complacent. Help me to just do what it is that you want me to do.
Right.
I know that this is a project, meaning that you have entrusted me with this. And I just really want to be so careful with it and just do exactly what he would have me to do.
Right. Yeah. And I'm always amazed at how God is in the details of everything that happens, right? So, there are times that we have days where, like I said, every day is a great day, but sometimes they don't feel like great days, and I would imagine that particular Sunday didn't necessarily feel like a great Sunday.
That's right.
But instead of going to church and closing off your heart and being like, well, I'm here, my family's not here, so I'm mad and I'm irritated and got on my nerves. But I'm gonna close my heart to what God is saying.
That's right.
That instead you were like, you positioned yourself in a place of worship, right? Because whenever we're giving to God, whether it's vocally through praise and worship or tangibly,
That's right.
It's an act of worship, every part of it, I think about on Sundays when we go to church, every part of it is a part of worship.
Yes.
And so putting your place, despite the things that are going on around you, despite how you're feeling, putting yourself in a place of worship, allowed the Holy Spirit to still minister to you, and I always find it amazing because it's like God was saying, I see you. I know everything you have going around you, but I see you right there. And even in this moment right there, I'm going to lift you up. I'm going to speak directly into you, and to give you this word to carry on, planting that seed in you. And then you have the opportunity to see how it manifests that time later. And God brings it all back around, and you're like, he knew. It's like he already knew. He already had orchestrated all those different things. He is already moving on our behalf so many times. And I think it's just such a testament of how great God is and how we have to make sure we keep our heart open. You know what I'm saying? To receive from him.
Not only keep your heart open, but allow your faith to just go wild. And that's what I mean by those dreams.
Right.
We limit ourselves, but there is no limit on what God can do.
Right, you're right.
Abba, our Father, is everything.
Yes.
It's this entire universe.
Right.
It's His.
Right.
And it is open to all of His children.
Yeah.
So it's that abundance is just there for all of us. And it's there for you to embrace it. So that whole faith walk and staying in that presence, I mean, we just have to. We just have to. We limit ourselves. There is no limit on what God can do.
We look at what we can do instead of trusting on what God can do.
Right. And it's not about what we see. It's never about what we see. That was another little aha moment for me, actually, in the business. I guess we were roughly about 3 years in. And I knew it was coming up time for payroll. And I looked in the account and I was like, so I don't even know. I mean, how am I going to tell these people that, no, this ain't happening on Friday. I want it to happen because I want to get paid too. Because I'm a W-2 for the company, right? And we were probably, because I tend to, well, thank you, Jesus. I don't look at it anymore. It just happens, right? Thank you, God. But back then, I would consciously look at what needed to happen 2 weeks prior, right? And no, it wasn't there. And I knew we were waiting on some checks to come in for some clients. And I was like, well, it'll just happen. And then we got to about a week before payroll was due. And one of the checks that I was really waiting for that I knew would cover everything had not come in yet. And I was like, Lord, I just have to leave this in your hands. And I said, you know what? If I get to the point where the money is not there, I will just explain to them, hey, it's not there, but it's coming. Of course, I'm good for it. You've already worked the hours. I'm definitely going to pay you. And I get a call from the showroom manager saying, you've got some mail in here. And she used to call me, but then she would take a picture of it and text me what the mail was. Honey, I saw that client's name on one of those envelopes. I was like, no, I'm coming over there to get that mail like now. Like, I'm getting in my car and I'm driving over there right now to pick this up. Because it was the check that I had been waiting for. And God reminded me, He said, didn't I tell you early when that you never have to worry about the finances? Excuse me, I'm sorry, but it really just brings tears to my eyes. He's like, I guaranteed you that when you first opened up the business, you would never have to worry about the money. And I said, thank you, Lord. Thank you, because it's not about what I see. It's not even about what I'm doing. It is being obedient to your word. And if I'm obedient to your word, you got me every single time. You got me every single time. So Tasha, I just can't speak enough about how amazing God is.
It's so amazing. He is so amazing.
And I just love Him so much. And I just thank you for the opportunity to even be able to share my testimony.
Girl, I mean, that is the thing, because I really, and one day I'm going to do a video that talks about how seed in the closet became in the word that God spoke about that. But, that's the whole thing, is that what God does for you, He wants people to know that He wants them to know that He is good for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to worry about it. And it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's your health or whether it's your finances, whether it's these things, first of all, we can't control them at all anyway. And so depend on Him who created it all. The Elohim who created every single thing, and He has enough, you know what I'm saying? And He is trustworthy. He's not a man that He would lie. And the thing about it is that I think we get so caught up in living in the natural that we forget about that we are supernatural, right? We are connected to the God.
Absolutely.
And He can do things way beyond what we ever could ask or think and have any comprehension of. Things that, He says His thoughts are high above our thoughts. You know what I'm saying? Just like the heavens are high above the earth. And there's so many things that He wants for us to do.
Absolutely.
But so many of us, you think about the 3 servants, when the guy came and he gave each one talent, 2 talents. And then
buried in one.
It's like so many of us are bearing our talents. Like, I just want to be sure, instead of being like, no, I know that you would go and you would do this and you would go and you would do that and you would go. So I'm going to go and do this. I'm going to go to do the things that you would do. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, but but your testimony is, to me, so rewarding because it's a reminder for us to challenge. Like, I think your testimony is the first one that's reminding us to challenge our faith. You know, test God, test Him, go out there, you know, and what is it that He's put in your heart? What is that He's put in your pathway? What is it that He has shown you or that He even hasn't shown you? Just keep going.
Exactly.
Just keep going, you know, and allow the things to build up so that you can see, and you'll find yourself in a position you're like, I don't even know how I got here. You know? And so I think that's the miraculous.
And I'm not saying we win all of our projects. We get just as many no's as we get yeses. But His faithfulness in my business, for my employees, for my suppliers, for our industry partners, I pray for all of us. All of us. When I'm saying, Lord, you know, thank you. Yes, thank you for each and every person that even comes across my pathway and how I even meet different clients. Right. I mean, that part to me sometimes is amazing. I can literally just be out in my regular day and not expecting something. And as God will show up, and I'm just like, okay, I mean, you know, and it can be, here's another quick one I do need to share. So I just recently moved into a new house, and the refrigerator that I wanted, because it was funny, I listened to your testimony about the refrigerator. Yes. And I was like, I have something just a little bit similar, not quite as astonishing as y'all's. But the refrigerator that I wanted was a little pricey. And I was like, I don't need to do this refrigerator. I was like, but you know what? If I just sold 2 offices of furniture, I got to get the refrigerator that I want. God is just so funny. Literally, I had that thought and I was like, well, I'm just going to sit it in the cart, you know, on the website and just, and if it happens, it happens. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. Right. And then I closed the browser and I went on about my day. I get an email from an existing client the very next day going, so Lisa, we want to outfit like 2 more offices. And I was like, Lord, look how you just showed up. Thank you so much. I'm going to be able to order my new refrigerator. Right. Because these 2 offices, and seriously, I was like, if I can just get 2 offices, it doesn't even matter what client, where, whatever. And these folks emailed me out the blue talking about, we want to add on, we need 2 more offices. You outfit them the exact same way you did our other stuff about 2 years ago. And I was like, look at my father showing up for me. I just love it so much.
You know, I think when I first started really getting into corporate America, I was in my early 20s. I had a girlfriend, and she would say, "Who are you believing?" Like, no, her question was, "Who pays you? Like, who provides?" That's right. And I was like, saying the company. She didn't say anything. She would come back later. Who is it that? And then finally, I got what her question was. Her question was, who is it that is supplying your needs? Who is it that's really, but it was like, well, who's paying you? That was her question. Who's paying you? And when you get that concept of who's paying you.
Who's really paying you.
Right. No, that company is just a vessel.
That's all it is.
That's all
that company can go out of business.
So who are you expecting? So years went down, decades later, I had gotten a promotion. And there was something wrong with the check, right? Like it didn't come, that it was something with HR, and it didn't hit my bank. And I was just like, I was mad. And the Lord was like, well, you've been saying all these years
that's right.
Who it was. So now we had to put that to a test.
Exactly.
So some years later on, now I'm like in this new space. And I'm like, now you can't even there's no denying it. God is definitely the vessel. However, the money just ends up in the bank. It just ends up in the bank. Right. And it's funny because it's like the church, you know, we used to have that prayer with checks in the mail and this,
yes.
We still say that over our finances.
No, I do too.
And I'm like, and literally checks will just come.
Absolutely.
And they'll be like, oh yeah, I'm in just out the blue. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And it's the same things. Like, I know it seems like, well, they praying over, or are they talking to God about refrigerators? Because He cares about all of our needs. That's why.
Exactly.
All of our needs.
That's right.
And so when these things come up, whether it's a refrigerator, whether it's your car note, whether it's your mortgage, your rent, whether child care, whatever it is, when those things come up, we have to remember that we might have an employer, or you might be your own your own employer,
Yeah.
whatever the situation is, God is ultimately the one who
Yes,
provides for
who
us.
provides.
He's the one who actually provides us, even with the companies to come to do business
Yes,
with us.
yes.
Even with those resources, those other organizations to partner with us to do whatever it is that He would have us to
wholeheartedly
do.
agree.
He's still ultimately the source.
And one of the best at making those decisions for us, right?
Right.
Because he allows those types of individuals or companies that's going to be the best fit for you.
Right.
And being able to work within your function and your confines and things of what you actually can provide back to them. That's something that actually is an aha moment in you saying that. As I'm sitting here talking with you, I'm just like, I love my clients.
Yeah.
I really do. They are so easy to work with and appreciate what it is that you do for them, because a lot of people don't appreciate it.
Right, exactly.
And it's just, Lord, thank you. I'm so thankful for the ones that actually, like you said, see us and we can show up for them and they show up for us in regards to wanting to work with us.
Right.
So it really does go both ways.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just always amazed because I think, just like when I shared in the testimony about the refrigerator, that our God is a God of a cattle on 1,000 hills, meaning there's enough. We don't have to feel like, well, this person got this, and so I can't get it.
Absolutely.
There's more than enough. There's more than enough.
And that's why I try so hard to walk around with my hands like this and not balled up.
Yeah, because
a balled up hand, you're not going to lose anything, but you're not going to gain anything
either. Right.
Open them up.
Yeah.
So that you can receive and then give back. Give back. I
Right.
mean, I just can't even speak to, I am a tithe and offering payer and believer.
Yes.
I mean, if he made it so abundantly clear.
So
1,000. Y'all just don't even know. I know I'm not giving, figures.
But just
I don't feel comfortable giving figures.
Right. But it's 1,000%. That's what it is.
It sure was.
Recently, somebody was sharing with me something, and God revealed this to me, that because they were like, I believe that if I had a need, that you would give me, like if I needed $10, you would give me $10. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm a giver.
Yes,
I'm a giver.
absolutely.
I believe in giving. And so I was like, oh, okay. And it was so funny because the Lord, like a couple of days later, said, if they need $10, I'm going to give you 20. So you can get, that's how God works, right? So, and even when we're like, but this is my last 10. Well, that's okay. I can give them my last 10 because He gonna give me 20. You see what I'm saying? So we have to keep in mind that we're not doing it necessarily. We are doing it to serve others, but we're not doing. Our ultimate is to serve God.
That's right.
And so when we're doing things and we're letting that flow through us, He gonna give you more.
Exactly.
He's gonna give you more.
Exactly.
So you don't have to be caught up
every single time.
Every single time.
Every single time.
And every single time.
Not just that one instance.
He gonna give you more.
Being a true servant leader.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed so much our topic last month about servant leadership. Yes, it just resonated with me. Because again, I didn't go to school to become a business owner, and it is new and challenging.
Yes.
I tend to tell my staff, and they know this about me. I describe myself as a lone wolf. I've worked in teams and I do perform well in teams, but I also work independently really well. I don't need a lot of guidance. Once you have told me what the task is, I will get it done. If I have a question, I will ask you. I don't want to mess up.
Right.
But, and when you give me that due date, you're going to get it either before or right at the due date that you asked for, right? So being, a manager over folks is like, okay, well, I thought you knew what to do. Like, just go get it done. I'm not a micromanager at all. I don't need to be in all of the details. And I do have some people that work for me like, we just want to share. And I'm like, okay, but you don't have to. Just get her done. Share less. So that's some of the things that I'm evolving into that I'm sure God laughs at me. He's like, you thought you was just going to be riding this out by yourself. Nope. I'm making it bigger so that you can stretch yourself, Lisa, and also in the blessing of others. So just being able to provide jobs for other people, Tasha, that blows my mind all the time. It really does. Yeah. Because the endeavor at first was, I was like, yeah, it could just be a little small dealership. And I'm sure God was like,
You have no idea. You ain't got no idea.
That's not the plan, but you'll be all right, though. You'll be all right. You'll catch up eventually. I'm like, okie dokie then. So, it's been good stuff.
That's about how God is, too. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
That's so awesome. So I know we'll look forward to seeing and hearing more about everything that God is doing for White Howard Brands. And you personally,
Yes.
The one thing I do love about every Christian that I've had on here is like, I just know so many of their testimonies. And I'm like, that's a good one. And let's go with the next one. But so I'm so thankful, though, that you came on today to share that, to share what God did for you. You know what I'm saying? Because he is not a respecter of persons. No. He will do it for anybody who was willing to have the faith to walk out and to believe and to trust him. And there was something that you said that I was like, that is so phenomenal. Because there is a scripture that tells us to meditate on the good things. And every time we've ever talked, it never even entered into my mind that you ever got to know. Right? Like anybody that you ever presented a proposal and somebody was like, well, no, we're not going to go with that. It never even entered my mind. But it's the thing that you focus on, the positive. Absolutely. You focus on, we've done great and you are a prosperous company. You know what I'm saying? Yes. So there are setbacks. There are some difficult times. There are things. But your thing, what I've always heard you say is that you just continue to trust God. You continue to, well, this is what you brought me to, God. So you're going to move and you're going to do this. Absolutely. And you're not focused on what doesn't happen. You're always focused on, well, what is it that?
What's the possibility to happen?
What's the possibility to happen? And what is God going to do next? That's right. And I think that is a whole nother testimony within this is, what is God going to do next? What is he going to do next for you? What are you trusting God to do next? Yes. So
it really is about opportunities. And I just can't speak enough about your own internal faith. Mm-hmm. That's really the biggest resonating thing out of all of this is just being steadfast in your faith, man. I know tomorrow's not promised, but I'm going to enjoy today and learning to live in those moments of where you are being present right now. Yeah. And I'm thankful right now, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that God is amazing and I love him. And I appreciate you, sis, seriously, for allowing me to be able to tell that testimony. And it's just great. It is really great. It's hard for me to complain, and God lets me know that too. What did you just say? Not a word, because life is so good. I didn't say not one thing. I can sit right here in this traffic until you decide that traffic is going to move for me to get where it is I got to go. Right. There's no complaints. No complaints. Really, seriously, I've gotten to that point in my life, Tasha. Mm-hmm. What you complaining for? Yeah. Nothing. Because he's got me. He's got you. He's got all of us. It's about the faith.
Yeah. Yeah. Praise God. Yeah. Indeed. Well, thank you so much for coming, and thank you all for tuning in. I hope you have a blessed day.